Recently, Bloomberg claimed that Genesis was preparing to file for bankruptcy. And finally it was expected. Digital Currency Group, DCG, cryptocurrency startup Genesis filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in New York Federal District Court late last night. Genesis, which has been in a liquidity crisis since the bankruptcy of cryptocurrency exchange FTX in November 2022, suspended withdrawals on November 16. Genesis, which has been trying to overcome the liquidity crisis since then, was not successful and filed for bankruptcy. In the CoinDesk report, Genesis estimated that it had between $100 million and $500 million in assets in its bankruptcy filing, debts of $100 million and $500 million, and between 1 and 49 creditors. Genesis also has subsidiaries Genesis Global Capital, LLC and Genesis Asia Pacific Pte. Limited also filed for bankruptcy protection. Before Genesis filed for bankruptcy, it struggled to raise new capital and reach a settlement with creditors, but without success, Genesis laid off 30% of its employees in early January. In addition, Genesis parent company DCG also stated that it has suspended dividend payments to its partners. After Genesis's filing for bankruptcy, eyes are now turned to the parent company DCG and the digital asset manager Grayscale, which is affiliated with DCG. With the news of Genesis's bankruptcy, Bitcoin, BTC, which again fell below $21,000, is currently struggling to rise above the $21,000 level. FTX to Genesis. Why did the company go bankrupt? Actively operating in many countries globally, FTX was known as the second largest cryptocurrency exchange before the crisis. The stock market's huge investments, sponsorships and purchasing budgets unfortunately came from the unauthorized use of its assets by its investors. Naturally, when users panicked and wanted to withdraw their assets from the stock market, there were not enough reserves, and this was the first step in a series of bankruptcies. Genesis, on the other hand, was affected by the devastation effect about 3 months after FTX's bankruptcy and filed for bankruptcy protection. Launched in 2013 with the OTC Bitcoin trading system, the company has realized $116.5 billion in sports trading volume, $130.6 billion in credit resources and $53.8 billion in derivatives transactions in 2021 alone, according to its own data. The bankruptcy of the company, which works with Luno, Grayscale and Digital Currency Group, made a big noise from many channels. The fact that Genesis has been experiencing a liquidity crisis for a while cost 30% of its employees in the first place to suspend withdrawals later on. While things turned into a much bigger crisis at this point, the company, which was very stingy in the explanation part, was often criticized for giving superficial information to users about the crisis. Shortly after these news, it was claimed that Genesis owed more than $3 billion to its creditors. On top of all this came a blow from the SEC. As one of the first plaintiffs in such matters, the SEC, as usual, went back to its main focus, securities. This was because Genesis and Gemini Exchange were running the EARN program together. However, the SEC filed a number of charges against the two companies on January 12. In the statements made, it was reported that the Gemini Exchange was selling securities through the EARN program. While the litigation process is still ongoing, Genesis's filing for bankruptcy protection raises questions about how the case will move, and the SEC has not yet made a statement. Many familiar companies are on the list. Genesis, the cryptocurrency lender at the center of the controversy, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection with the U.S. Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York earlier today. A list of the top 50 creditors of the cryptocurrency lending company has been shared. According to the list, there is over $3.5 billion in debt to the 50 largest creditors. Some of the biggest creditors, including a claim of nearly $500 million, remain anonymous. According to a source close to the subject, the majority of these are individual creditors. It is seen that the list includes especially well-known crypto money companies and high debt amounts. It is seen that Gemini Trust Company, which has been in public discussion with Genesis parent company Digital Currency Group, DCG, for weeks, has a $766 million receivable from Genesis and is at the top of the list. Other notable creditors include cryptocurrency fund Marana Corp., $151 million, crypto loan firm Babel Finance, $150 million, VanEck New Finance Income Fund, $53 million, Plutus Lending, a subdivision of cryptocurrency platform Abra. $30 million, and trading company Cumberland DRW, $19 million. It is seen that Heliva International is on the list with its $55 million receivables. Decentraland's CFO, Santiago Esponda, is noteworthy to be listed as Heliva's contact person. While speaking to CoinDesk, Decentraland's COO Ryan de Tabauda explained that this is not an official Decentraland investment. Total number of creditors over 100,000. This means that the debt burden is much higher than $3.5 billion. It is expected that the total debt of the company will be determined in a short time according to the proceedings in the court.